So Namaste, welcome everyone to the 28th session on Taittareeya Upanishad. And as I just heard from Bindoji, this is going to be a long one with at least another 15 or 20 more sessions. So please stay tuned. And as you know, the recordings are available first here in Clubhouse as replays in the saved replays in the house, or in the Advaita Retold channel where Bindoji has been cataloging all these talks in a series with other Upanishads and other sessions that he has had previously. All that is cataloged in the YouTube channel, Advaita Retold. So as to maintain the decorum of the room, we'll close the hand raising and the chat for the session after the session is over. After Binduji has completed his presentation, then we'll open up the chat and hand raising for discussions. I've pasted the link for this particular Upanishad on the top, and the 8th Upanishad volume is pasted in the chat. So, over to you, Bindoji.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and welcome all. We will start our today's session. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Shanti Mudram. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are into the second chapter, 6th Anuvaka, which is Asanne Savabhavati Asti Brahmeti Chet Veda Asti Brahmeti Chet Veda Sandamenam Tato Viduriti Tasya Yesha Eva Sharira Atma Yah Purvasya Athato Anuprasnaha Utadam Vidum Aman Lokam Pretya Kaschana Gacchati Aho Vidwan Amum Lokam Pretya Kaschit Samashnuta So Kamayata Bohusyam Prajayeti Sat Tatapo Tapyata Sat Tatapat Tattva Idagum Sarvam Asurjata Yedidam Kincha Yat Srshtva Tat Srshtva Tadeva Anupravisat Tadanu Pravishya Satchatyacha Abhavat Niruktam Cha Aniruktam Cha Nilayanam Cha Anilayanam Cha Vitnyanam Cha Avitnyanam Cha Satyam Cha Anrutam Cha Satyam Abhavat Yatidam Kincha Tat Satyamitya Chakshate Tadapyesha Sloko Bhavati Iti Shashtamanuvak. So, we saw that in the last class we were discussing about the anupravesha, or the he or Brahman having created the world, the Jagat, Tat Srshtva, Tadeva Anupravishat. It entered into them, that. So there were lot of philosophers which were discussing, and they have given the definition for that as, like the mud and the mud pot, where, the mud pot is nothing but mud. So therefore the mud has entered the pot to become the name and form and the utility of the pot. So, and even if you take the mud, a lump of mud itself as powder of clay, there also a similar thing. It enters the clay, a lump of clay, and then enters into the shape of pot. So is it not this way? It was the question by some people who have been following that belief that the Brahman, having created the world, entered into the Brahman, because there were Upanishad words also, like it entered through the top of the crown, it entered into the heart, and it Angushta Matra Purusha, in the size of a thumb, he resides in the heart, etc., etc. There have been definite mentioning in the different Upanishads. So nothing wrong in their assumption that. So he says that nahi gada parinama vyadirekena mrudo gado pravesho asti. The pot, the mud cannot enter a pot, because the pot without the mud should exist, into which the mud should enter to become a mud pot. That is not the case. The pot was never existing without the mud. The existence of the pot is along with the mud. So the entered word cannot be used in the case of a mud and the mud pot. Then whether it is parts, whether the Brahman is in parts so that it becomes the powder of clay, which enters the lump of clay and then later enters the pot. So here also he refused that it is not that way, because ekatvad brahmana. It is without avayava, niravayavatvad. There is no avayava for that. Then if it is, let us take it as avayava. Avayava also it cannot be, because ekatve sadi niravayatvad pravishta desha abhavacha. Because Brahman is all pervading. There is no place where Brahman is not there. Therefore, even if you take it as Savayava, here it is Ekatvam. Brahman is only one. And there is Nirevatvam. Therefore, there is no space where it has not been present. So that also will not work. Sunya Deshatvad is another way. Ashunya Deshatvad is the reason for it is being given for that. Now, if it is that, if karanameva chet pravesheti chet, if it is as the cause itself enters the effect, is it that way? Was the question by some people. So tatra jivatvam jahyat. So if Atma becomes the Jiva, then if Atma itself is in the Jiva, then why should you call it as Jiva? You cannot call it as Jiva. You should call that also Atma only. Yada gadai mrit pravesho gadatvam jahati. So if the gada is now getting filled with mud, then you should not call it as gada. It should be called the lump of clay itself, or the clay itself. So that is not tadanupravisha iti shrutena karana anupravesha na yuktaha. So that is not acceptable. Then comes the karyantarameva syad. That is one pot creating another pot, or one human being creating another human being. But while creating, in the case of Jadavastu, it is not possible. One pot cannot create another pot, because there need to be an intelligent cause for it. Now, assuming that one human being is producing another human being, he is producing with dependency on others. Therefore, sadhanantaram is required. With a male needs a female, or female needs a male for producing a progeny. And second thing is that the progeny is not the parent itself, whether it is in the animal or human being or any of those species. So therefore, you cannot think that way also, that there is no way in which it can be coming in there also entry is anupravesa cannot be accepted. Then says that jala suryagadi pratibimbavat pravesha syaditi. Is it not like the sun entering the reflection or we seeing a reflection in a mirror? Is it not that way? So there also it is rejected because amurtatvat and vyapakatvat. One is, Brahman is amurtam. There is no murti for it. Like the Surya or we, our body and all, these are all murta bhava. Murta bhava means material objects. So the material objects only can reflect in a reflecting medium. And in the case of Brahman, it is sarva vyapakam. There is no place where it is not there. Therefore, the reflecting media also is vyapakat, is spread is in Brahman only. Therefore, evam tarhi na eva asti pravesha. If all these things are being rejected, that the pravesha itself has not happened is something what we will have to gatyantaram upalabhavamahe. There is no other way we can think that there is no pravesha happening. It is not a valid statement. But Shankaracharya cannot accept that because Shruti can never tell a lie or never tell something which is not valid. Shrutischa na atindriya vishaye vijnana upapatto nimittam. So Shruti is the nimittam for vijnana upapatti. Nacha asmad vakyam yatnavatam api vijnanam upapadyate. In that case, that those who are doing yatna or effort for that, they will not be able to achieve that. Anda tarhi na anartagatvad apohyatvad vakyam Tat Srshtva tadeva anupravisat iti na. So it is not a anartaka vakyam or apohya vakyam which has to be rejected or discarded. Tarhi what? Then what? Anyartatvad. There is a different meaning for it. That is what you people have not seen it. Kimartam astane charcha. Why are you people discussing in a non-relevant way? Because prakritaha hi anyaha vivikshataha asya vakyartaha asti sasmartavya. Prakritaha means in this context, anyaha vivikshata asya artaha, vakyartaha. This vakyarta has got a vivikshita artha. That means this literal words has got an intended meaning. That is to be remembered. Sasmartavya. So what is the context under which these words are being said? Brahmavid apnoti param satyajnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihidam guhayam parame vyoman so snude sarvan kamans asnusa sahi. All those things are the one which is. These are all the context under which the whole discussion is going on. That akashad brahma, atmana akashad vayu, up to purusha. Annat purushaha. All those things was narrated stage by step by the Upanishad. So there is in that tatcha vijnanam cha vivekshidam prakritam cha tat. There is vijnanam which is mentioned in that category, and that is the context under which it is being told. What is the purpose of the context? The Upanishad is not talking about the creation and description of this thing. Annamaya description is not to know the physical body or the physiology of it. Pranamaya, the description is not for knowing the lungs or the vital air or any of those aspects. Manomaya is not to know about our psychology or the mental aspects. And Vijnanamaya is not to analyze Vijnana or logic or etc. like that. So what is the purpose or in the context why this Upanishad is talking about? Acharya Shankara says, Brahma Swarupa Avagamaya. Avagamaya means for apprehension. or for the understanding or for knowing or for realizing what? Brahma Swarupa. The true nature of Brahman, how to understand that is the Prakritam or is the context for which the whole thing has started. Because the opening statement itself is that Brahmavit apnodi param. Brahmavit, one who knows Brahman, apnodi param, reaches or permeates everything. So the Prakritam here, the context is about the Brahmavit. So when we are talking about Brahmavit, why are you all going from the Brahmavit and going into the creation like Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya? It is not without purpose that Upanishad is talking about Annamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya, etc. There is a reason for it, because the Prakritam or the context under which it is being discussed has to be always under the fixed goal from which you have to analyze all these statements. So, Brahma Swarupa Avagamaya cha Akashadi Annamayantam Karyam Pradarshidam. From starting with Akasha, Atmana Akasha Sambudha, from there up to Annamaya, Annam hi Bhutanam Jeshtam. All those things have to be remembered. Pradarshidam. Brahma Avagamascha. In all those statements, he said that Tasyondara Atma, Tasyandara Atma. When that statement has been mentioned, subtler than as the Atma of the Annamaya is the Pranamaya, subtler than Pranamaya as the Atma of Pranamaya is Manomaya. Like that only the Upanishad has been talking. So why are you discarding all those statements of the Upanishad? That is how the Upanishad has started. Tatra Annamayat Atmanaha Anyaha Antaraha Atma Pranamaya. That is very clearly mentioned by the Upanishad. Tatra means in the context where Annamayad, from the Annamaya, Atmanaha, the Atma of the Annamaya, Antaraha Atma, subtler than that is another Atma, which is called Pranamaya. So Pranamaya becomes the Atma which is subtler than for the Annamaya. Tadandar Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Idi Vijnana Guhayam Pravashita. That way from the gross Annamaya or the food sheath to the vital air sheath, to the mental sheath, to the intellectual sheath, to the Anandamaya or the bliss sheath. Vijnana Guhayam Pravisha. To the heart. Vijnana. That is why Yo Veda Nihidam Guhayam. Yo Veda. That word Veda was put for Nihidam Guhayam. When it was discussing about Vijnanamaya. So, all people, you all forgot and you became so enamored by the Akasha, Vayu, Kana, all those things. Annamaya, Aushadam, Prana, Annam, Purushaha, all those descriptions became important and you forgot the reference to the context. Tatracha, Anandamayaha, Vishishta Atma Pradarshita. While concluding the 5 sheets, Anandamaya Vishishta Atma Pradarshita, where Tasyohandara Atma, that word was never used in the case of Anandamaya. But Brahma Pucham Pradishtam was given. So what does it mean? Tatracha, even there, Anandamayaha Vishishta Atma Pradarshita. There is a relationship of Ananda and Atma clearly mentioned when we discussed about Anandamaya. Ataha Paramanandamaya Linga Adigama Dwarena Ananda Vivriddhihi Avasanaha Atma. Ataha, now he is concluding what is the important aspect to be understood. Paramanandamaya Linga. That Anandamaya Linga has a Paramananda Linga, a indication towards the supreme bliss. Adhigama Dwarena, by apprehending that or by knowing that in the Anandamaya, Ananda Vivriddhi means Anandasya Vardhanam, or the elation or the incremental rate in which you can associate ourselves with Ananda. And it is the avasana when the end of it comes, Bada avasana, when that from the objective happiness to the subjective happiness, and in the subjective happiness without the objective happiness, how when you can see the happiness getting increased, which is now going to be mentioned in the subsequent anuvaka of the 8th anuvaka, it will be given how it is to be associated. Ananda Vivriddhi, the elated nature or the increased nature of Ananda in the Anandamaya Kosha of each of the bodies. And the ultimate avasana, Atma. That is Brahma Pucham Pratishta. Sarva Vikalpaspadau Nirvikalpaha Asyam Eva Guhayam Adigantavyaha Iti Tat Praveshaha Prakalpite. So tat prakveshaha tadeva trishtva tat pravishyan tatra tadev tat praveshaha tasya praveshaha. Tat praveshaha means the entrance or the entry of that. Prakalpyate means detailed for our consumption by notion. It is not visually we can see it or we can do in any way we can experiment with it. But prakalpana, kalpana means imagination. Prakalpana means it is imagination where the imagination becomes a reality. It is not mere imaginative role, but pravesha prakalpate. How Brahma Pucham Pratishta is the statement. All this Parama Ananda or Ananda in the Anandamaya is depending upon the Brahma. Therefore, the nature of Brahman is now being revealed to the Vijnanamaya through Anandamaya. Because Vijnanamaya is being now told that Tasyondara Atma Anandamaya. The Atma of Vijnanamaya is Anandamaya. In that Anandamaya, Paramanandamaya Linga Pradarshita. Adhigama Dharena. The height of happiness or the height of the bliss or the pure bliss, which we can imagine in the Anandamaya. Now here is where we have to bring into what are the experiential aspects of it. For that, Acharya says, Sarva Vikalpaspadau Nirvikalpaha Asyam Eva Guhayam Adigantavya Iti. What is that? Sarva Vikalpa Aspadam. Aspadam means substratum. Vikalpa means the way in which the names and forms are appearing. Vikalpam. Or in the thoughts or in the feelings or in the experience. Sarva Vikalpa means both Jagrat and Swapna. Other than Jagrat and Swapna, we don't have any Vikalpa anywhere else. Because in the Sushupti, we don't have any Vikalpa. Or any thoughts or any knowledge of any name and form. And that Aspada means the substratum for the waking and the dream is to be seen, Adhigama is to be understood as Nirvikalpaha Asyameva. That Nirvikalpatvam of all the Aspadam for the Vikalpas of the Jagrat and Swapna is to be known in the Guha of the Vijnanamaya Adhigantavya. Through the intellectual reasoning and imagination of how the creation is taking place for an individual, if we analyze it from our state of deep sleep, the experience in the form of name and form appears in our antarkarana. Where do we experience all the experience of the world and the waking and the dream? It is only in our antarkarana. Antarkarana means Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. So Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya put together is called the antarkarana. In that only we are experiencing the sarva vikalpa. Vikalpa of what? Then vikalpa means names and forms of both gross world and subtle world of dream. The waking and the dream is experienced in the Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, which is put as the word as Guha. Guha means Andhakaranam here. Guhayam Adhigantavya. It has to be seen in the experiences of the waker and the dream when you use your mind, intellect and the experiences. Let us take Anandamaya as the experiences, which experiences both good and bad. So, in the Antakarana, the Guha, Adhigantavya means you can know it. This is here where we have to bring the correlation between the earlier studies of Upanishad. Yat chakshun na pasyati, yena chakshums pasyati. Yat shrotram na shrunoti, yena shrotram shrunoti. Yat manasana manute, yena hur manomatam. All those statements, all the sense organs, all the mind, all the intellect, the potency for them to perform is coming from not by themselves, but it is borrowed from or getting blessed with something else. That is the Guha Adhigantavya which we are talking about. So when we say Pratibodha Vididam Matam, we are analyzing both not only the waking world, the waking and the dream world, all the experiences of the waking, all the experiences of the dream, other than there is no Jagat. For anybody, the Jagat is only bracketed between these two experiences of waking and the dream. And that you have to compare with the substratum, which is the deep sleep, from where these things are springing up. As Vijnana, as awareness. Awareness we cannot know when there is no object. So, the awareness which is known in the object of the waking, or the experience of the waking, or the consciousness which is happening in the waking, same way in the dream, all those things have to have a relation with the deep sleeper, or the deep sleep where there is no vikalpa taking place. That is why it is called nirvikalpa asyam eva. All this sarva vikalpa means all the waking and the dream, their nirvikalpa rupa is present in the deep sleep. That state of nirvikalpatva means thoughtlessness or thoughtless state, or experiencing without object, or thoughtless thinking, objectless awareness, whatever word you want to use, or the sound of the silence, anything which you use, there in the deep sleep is present. That is what called nirvikalpa. And that is the aspada for sarva vikalpa, which is the waking and the dream. And where do we realize the waking and the dream? In the guha. Guha means antakaranam, or the mind, intellect and the bliss sheath. So when Tat Pravesha, when the Upanishad is used, Tat Srshtva means having created the waking or having created the dream, Tad anupravisya. Now the nirvikalpa state of the knowledge or the awareness or the bliss or the happiness, that is now getting attached as thoughts, feelings and emotions with object connection, nama rupa connection, names and forms. But names and forms have no, they are inert in their own way. Their existence and awareness is because it is being perceived at the intellectual level or the antakarana guha, and that then it divides itself into jnatrit, jnana, jneya. That is knower, known and the knowing. The division is being now performed because you have got the name and form where you can segregate the known and then you become the knower. And the connection between the knower and the known, you call it as knowing. But where did this all the three come? As experience of knowing and the subject and the object, it all came up from that nirvikalpa avastha of the sushupti. That is what is the pravesha. Tat pravesha prakalpate. Nahi anyatra upalabdhehe brahma. Nowhere else can you ever touch, feel, sense or apprehend Brahma other than in waking and dream. By analyzing what is happening in waking and dream, you will be able to know Brahman in the Andakarana. Because that is the only place where it is expressing its activity. Sarva Vikalpa Rupena. In the Vikalpa Rupa means in the forms of thoughts and experiences. When there is no waking or dream, which is, I will now put in as one word as Jagat. The waking and dream is the Jagat, the Nama Rupa. So the Nama Rupa, we call it as Mithya in Advaita, is to prove that Nama Rupa is nothing but other than this Brahman or Atman itself. So what is Mithya is not Mithya in the real sense, it is in the real sense Brahman itself. That is why Sarvam Khaluidam Brahma becomes reality. It is that the rope is not Mithya. The rope is all the time, the snake is not the Mithya. The rope is nothing but the one which is now appearing as the snake. The snake is nothing but rope. Why don't we understand that? The snake, what I am thinking as snake is nothing but rope. Same way, the world which is I am thinking as the name and form of the world is nothing but experience or awareness or consciousness. There is a name and form. The name and form is depending upon the awareness or the consciousness for it to express. And without express, the mind cannot conceive it. Same way, the mind cannot conceive the snake unless the rope has been present there. The mind projected the snake only because the rope was there. Same way, the awareness and the experiences are present, and you now call that experience and name by name and form. So you become what? You become the seer, you become the hearer, you become the thinker, you become the smeller, you become the toucher. All those things you become because the subjective nature is separated or divorced from the object nature. And this dichotomy of subject and object, we are not able to correlate their dependency, all the three, the subject, the object and the act of the connection between the subject and the object in the name of experiencing or knowing, all that needs the substratum of pure awareness or consciousness or knowledge or experience, which is nothing but Brahman or Atman. That is what called Nirvikalpa. And that Brahman is not only present in the deep sleep, It is present in the waking or in the Jagat. That is why you are able to call it as Nama Rupa. And this is the reason why in the Chandogya we said, no, Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadeyam Mrittigateva Satyam. Same way, the whole world Jagat is Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa, in the name and form, it is Mithya. But is the name and form a reality? Because what changes is not real. But there is something in reality in that because of which you are able to know it is existing, and that knowledge of existence is what we can understand through the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Therefore, na hi anyatra upalabhyate Brahma. Nowhere else you can know Brahman, not by doing meditation, nor by going into a seclusion, nor by standing on your head. None of the methods in which you can think you can get know. Only nihitam guhayam. In the heart where you have the mind, intellect and Ananda operating and Brahma being present in that. Brahma Pucham Pradishta. That it is the Sarva Vikalpa Aspadam Nirvikalpam. That Nirvikalpatvam of the Sushupti for the Sarva Vikalpa is the Nirvisheshatvad. Because there is no Vishesha for it. There is no qualification for it. That Nirvikalpa is Nirvishesha. Means there is no Nama Rupa for that. Even when Vishesha Sambandha hi Upalabdhir Hetu. Vishesha Sambandha means in the name and form when it is having a Sambandha connection, the name and form gets a reality of existence and experiential nature. That Upalabdhi Hetu, the experiential nature of that, of Vishesha, Vishesha means the Jagat here, is Drishta as Drishta. Yes, Yada, Raho, Chandra, Arka, Vishesha Sambandha. Now he is giving an example. What is that? We call Rahu, which is the eclipse. Now the eclipse is an experience which we are experiencing. But is eclipse, it's a name and an experience. But what is the dependency of that? Only when the sun and the moon are present, we can call that whether the sun or the moon should be present for us to call it as an eclipse. Rahu, even though in the mythology Rahu is supposed to be the head of a snake which is swallowing the part of the sun or the part of the moon, but we know it is the shadow of the moon or the earth falling on the sun or on the moon, which we call it as eclipse. So let us not go into the mythology of Rahu. Rahu means take it as eclipse. Eclipse can be known only in the presence of sun or the moon. Either if you don't have sun and the moon, you don't have any eclipse. Same way, the Nirvikalpa, Nirvishesha, Atma or Brahman, when Vishesha Sambandha, when the Nama Rupa Sambandha comes, Upalabdhi of experience takes place, or the experience becomes a reality or a happening. Evam Andakarana Guha Atma Sambandha Brahmana Upalabdhi Hetuhu. Now how does the Brahma Upalabdhi? How do we realize Brahman in our Guha, in our Andakarana? Evam Andakarana Guhatma. The Andakarana and the Guhatma. Atma is present in Sushupti, in Jagrat, in Swapna, in the Jagat, in the individual, everywhere it is present. Sarvam. The Brahman, Atman is because it is all pervading, omnipresent. And that is present even in our Guha, means our Andakarana, which is the Karana. Andakarana means it's an instrument, inner instrument through in which we can realize Brahman. Upalabdhi hetu. That becomes the cause for the Upalabdhi or the realization of Brahman in our bosom. Sannikarshad. Sannikarsha means sambandha or because of the Atma and the Nama Rupa. In Atma, when it is present in the Andakarana, in the deep sleep, we cannot realize Brahman. Because there is no experience of Brahman, there is nothing to experience there. Experience nature, it becomes pure consciousness. Pure consciousness cannot be experienced. The Atma, when it is being experienced as an experience in the name and form, Andakarana, the inner instrument should now be able to realize the nature of Brahman in the name and form. That is why Avabhasaka Atmatvat. Avabhasakam means shining as name and form. The Atma is now lighting up the name and form for our experience purposes. So in the Andakarana, in the heart and the intellect and the Anandamaya, when the experiences are arising, we should be able to separate out the names and forms and concentrate on the substratum of the consciousness or the experience to know what is Atma or Brahman. Yatacha Aloka Visishta Gada Dyubalabdi. The pot or the sun, the earlier example of Surya and the Jala Kirana. Their Upalabdhi, how does it happen? Aloka Visishta. Because when the Gada is present, the Gada is seen only in the presence of light, Aloka. Therefore, we say that Aloka Visishta Gada. Now the Gada or the pot has a qualifier for it. What is that? Lit by the sun, lit by the light. The pot, when it is lit, becomes visible. Same way, the Nama Rupa, when it is lit by the Andakarana, we experience the Nama Rupa. Evam, Buddhi Pratyaya Aloka Vishishta Atma Upalabdhi Syad. That's what I said. Evam, in this manner, similarly, Buddhi Pratyaya Aloka. Buddhi Pratyaya Aloka means lit by the thoughts in the buddhi or the intellect or the mind. That becomes the Vishishta. That becomes the light to become the Atma becomes lit by the thoughts when it is functioning in the name and form. So Atma is the one which is lighting the thoughts. The thoughts are now with knowledge and the name and of object. So the Atma is the light with which we come to know any object in the world. So when we are knowing any object in the world, we are knowing actually the Brahman or Atman, not the object. But we think that when I am seeing a table, when I am seeing an object, or when I am seeing a human being, I am seeing a human being, I am seeing a table, etc. But the light in which I am able to apprehend, experience, whether the inner one or the external one, either by the sense organs or the internal thoughts, feelings, emotions, and etc. All those things becomes experiential or knowledge only because it is being lit by Atma, and that Atma is a Vishesha. there is a speciality for that Atma. What is that? Buddhi pratyaya loka vishishta. With the light of Atma, which becomes the Buddhi pratyaya, the thoughts in the brain or the intellect. Syat tasmat upalabdhi hetoho guhayam nihitam iti prakritam eva. This is what is the anupravesa. It seems to have entered the objects to make the object physically available to us or experientially available to us. Just as light seems to have entered the pot to make us feel that the pot is visible. Actually, what we are seeing is the light from the pot. We are not seeing the pot. We are tasting sweet. We are thinking we are tasting the sweet because it has gone into the mouth. No. The sweetness present in the sweet is being lit by the thought of experience, and that is what is creating the experience of the sweet, not the sweet which is in the mouth. If sweet had the sweetness in the potency and everything, when you have jaundice or when you have high diabetic, the sweet will become bitter. The same sweet which should give sweetness is becoming bitter. Or when you have a jaundice, a white object looks yellowish. If the object is white, it should be always white. No, because Upadhi is important. That Upadhi is nothing but Andakarana. That Andakarana, even though when it is lit by Atma, unless it is Vishishta by the Atma, and you have the Andakarana in prime form, then only you will be able to perceive the nature in which these things are changing. Even when when it is becoming yellow in jaundice time, is to educate us that the whiteness can change, but the knowing of the object is not changing. Let us say it is a white flower. It becomes yellowish flower during jaundice. The flower has not changed. The knowledge of the thing has changed, but the nature of knowledge has not changed. The Vishishta, the qualification of the flower goes through a change due to a defective instrument. So all this thing is showing what? That we are every moment, every experience, thoughts, feelings, emotions, or objects experienced through the sense organs, everything we call it as the world of objects is known in the light of Atma. And what we are experiencing is Atma. Because Atma is what we are. So the subject, the object, the knowing, everything is depending upon that one Atma. We become the subject. We are Atma. Because we are also becoming an object for somebody else. We are knowing, the other person is also knowing. Everything is in the knowing which is happening. Therefore, this is the one which is guhayam, nihitam maybe means the hidden in the andakarana. That prakritameva. That is the context under which it is being discussed. Tat vritti sthaniye tuhi punaha Tat Srshtva tadeva anupravisat idi uchyate. So he is concluding what is the Tat Srshtva tada anupravisat. Tad vritti sthaniye. That vritti means the thoughts. Tasya vritti, tad vritti. The vrittis which are the thoughts of the objects or the world. Sthaniye means when it is happening in the location when the thoughts are happening. Tuhi punas tat srishtva. That is where it is saying that having created the experience it enters in the experience as the knowing in the experience. That is what is called Tadeva anupravisat iti uchyate. Tadeva akashadi karanam karyam srishtva tadanupravishta iva andarguhayam buddhau drishtru shrotru mantru vijnadru ityevam visheshavat upalabhyate. Tadeva idam, that alone here, akashadi karanam is the cause for the akasha, etc. Akasha means all the entire jagat has to be taken, becomes the karyam. Karyasya karanam is what? Tad. That Brahman becomes the cause for akashadi karanam. It is called the akashadi karanam, is the cause for all the akashad, which are the karyam. Karyam Srshtva, having created the karyam, akashadi, everything, tada anupravishta iva, as if it has entered in them, andarguhayam, in the very bosom of everything what is being created, buddhau, in the intellect, then he takes the shape of drishtru, one who is seen as the seer, mantra, one who is thinker, vijnatru, one who is intelligently analyzing, or the logician, or the one knowing, iti evam, in this manner, visheshavat, in the speciality as the seer, thinker, teacher, toucher, smeller, etc. Upalabhyate, is making oneself available. Sa eva tasya praveshaha. This is what is his entrance. Tasmad asti tat karanam brahma. Tasmad asti tat karanam brahma. So, therefore, there is the existence as the cause is called Brahma. Ataha astitvad asti ityeva ubalabdhavyam tad. So, when we are knowing that, we know that Brahman is Satyajnanam Anandam Brahma. That Satyam asti rupam. That is what is called tad asti tat karanam Brahma. So, everything we say that is or are or it is, it was, all those existential words which we are using for the names and forms is because there is this Atma or Brahman present in it. Astitvad, because having the existential nature in them, asti iti eva, they exist in that nature alone. Upalabdhavyam, we have to apprehend Tat. Tat means Brahman or Atman. So, if you are saying that he is what you are talking about, he is Brahman, then only we can say Aham Brahmasmi or Tad Tomasi. All those things, statements becomes valid only if this is used, that Asti Rupena, in the form of existence, we are seeing everything. Waking is existence, dream is existence, deep sleep is existence. So existence is present everywhere. I am the deep sleeper and the amness. I am the waker, the amness in the waker. I am the deep sleeper, the deep sleeper. In the objects, in the waking, the world is. I am there, the world is. Idam, in the rupam of idam. Or this is the world. This is the cow. This is the tree. This is the sun. This is the moon. This is the sky. Everything is we are using. That is what is called ataha astitvad asti ityevam upalabdhavyam tad. I'll stop it here. I'll take the question answer now because it is going for one more paragraph. Is a long paragraph where I need to connect this between this and the what has been told in this, what is the anupravesha. To understand Satchatya Bhavat, Niruktam Cha, Niruktam, Nilayanam, Anilayanam, all those things need to be explained very well for the proper understanding. So, these 3 minutes before I'm stopping, we will take question answer today. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawada.
Thank you, Binduji, again for taking us through the aspect of embodying Brahman. I'm opening up the chat and hand raising. So anyone interested in asking questions can come up.
Namaste Venkat. Pranam.
Namaste, Pranam Binduji. Pranam Prakashji.
Pranam.
Binduji, this today has been I think it's everything coming around now. That Astitva Upalabdhyate, that Astitva is that available to Vijnanamaya Kosha, Asti, and hence further even Atindriya Gnana is just a Indriya Gnana only with a preamble Astitva. Everything is now Astitva. Either you call Aham Bhava, Aham Idam, everything is preamble, is the Brahman. So it is not now differentiating either Vishesha Gnana or, Samanya Gnana. It's all coming around. It is not differentiating this or that. The rope and snake is just the rope only appearing as snake. It is not. Now it is reconciling everything, Binduji. This is now it's available in waking and dream as an astitva, and all this nama rupa is preamble is in Brahman. There is no pravesha possible. It's all with astitva. It is appearing like this. It is now well reconciled. This is how I understood, Binduji.
Yes, Venkat. The easiness which we call the plant is, the animal is, the human is, the world is, the cosmos is, everything where when we say the world is, including I am, the am in when I say myself, or the is when I talk of anything else other than me. That existence of everything, including myself, is experiential. Unless it is experiential, I cannot say is. That isness is what is called the consciousness, which is with which we are able to transact in the world. The transaction needs existence or the reality of the objects. No single object. Suppose you cannot have a transaction saying that there is a son of a barren woman. There is no reality to it. So the word is a barren woman, son is a non-existential thing. But we are using two words. The woman is existing, the son is existing, but the adjective of a barren woman makes the isness non-real. Even though we are using the word is. Same way, the shunyata or the nihilism or the absence, which we are talking about, is due to the same feeling of the real, what is there, its absence is what is we are talking about. When the absence of everything put together, we call it as the dream is without anything. And the deep sleep is without anything. The deep sleep is not without anything. You are there very much. That is why you said I had a good sleep. I knew nothing. Knowing nothing can be a reason, because you need the easiness in the name of waking or dream, the objects of name and form, to be present in that for experiential purpose. But one's own experience doesn't need any object. Even the body is, my body is. It is my body, my lungs, my intellect, my mind, everything, my happiness, everything is mine. What I am different from that I am in my deep sleep is present. Otherwise, when we wake up, I had a good sleep. The one who remembers that absence of everything having rejuvenated is present there. So amness of mind, I can know it only after I wake up, because I can transact only in the waking up. In the deep sleep, I have no transaction also. Therefore, there is no experiences to which transaction can be done, but experience of myself as my existence was experienced by me in the deep sleep. But I have no words to express it, because I cannot express myself in my words, because I am not an object for expression. All I can say that I had a good sleep, because that sleep is now supposed to be the experience which I superimpose, because that is the story of the waker, to tell that you had gone to sleep, because you were not experiencing waking and dream. Though you had an experience of sleep. Actually, I was not in the sleep. I was in myself. I was not asleep. As the sleep is the name called by the waker for my absence of the waking and the dream. But where were I? I was in myself. In my pure, pristine nature, I was resting with my mind and intellect shut down for experience purpose. Therefore, I didn't have any experiences. But can I say it a location wise or time wise? Neither time nor location, as the space and time was absent there. The space and time was projected. Then that there is the space, there is the time for the waker. That is also from the deep sleep. The one who is in deep sleep is the one bringing us a name and form for the space and time, and in which all other experiences are being taken to say yesterday, today, tomorrow for the time purpose. Here, there, everywhere, this space thing is also from that point of view only. So all those things are experiential, becomes experiential because of the consciousness. And that consciousness is present even in the space and time as is. There is, there, where is, time is, yesterday was, today is, tomorrow will be. All those time with relation to the existence is also due to that same consciousness or experience or awareness, which is present in everything. That is how we can know what is our nature, and the nature of what we are is the nature with which every object is there. The amness of mind is not difference when I say you are. The are or he is, his isness, your are-ness and my amness. All the three are nothing but existence. And that existence is the nature of Atma or Brahman.
I think that affirms a lot. I thought this is clear from Asti. Now there is something built before in the earlier. This is like a Paramalinga. There, that supreme bliss. I'm trying to use the term Nitya Sukha. Nitya Sukha. Nitya is that Nityam is not going away. It's always available. Nitya Sukha cannot be equated to existence. From Vijnanamaya, because the Anandamaya, Vijnanamaya is a womb, the womb of Anandamaya is Vijnanamaya. Now we are stepping back a little more now. The Paramalinga and this Anandamaya, that supreme bliss, in this context, Nitya Sukha, is this the right way to use the word Nitya Sukha? Nitya. It is available
See,
either deep
yeah,
sleep or waking or dream. How do
that's
you
why,
take this?
that is why the easiness of experience is experienced in the deep sleep as amness or easiness or arness. That is what is called the Paramananda Linga, and which is present in the Ananda Linga. Ananda here means all the experiences which we are experiencing as happiness or sorrow. But what is sorrow and happiness is nothing but the same unchanging nature of existence. When we are bringing desire in between, the desire, when it is satisfied, we call it as happiness. And when the desire is unsatisfied, we call it as sorrow. It is not the experience which is changing. The experience is as existence. It is present even in the happiness and in the sorrow. So happiness is there, sorrow is there, that easiness is there present in both of them. They become adjective as happiness or sorrow because of the desire part of it, which is present in the Manomaya Kosha. From the mind, when we desire something, when we do not achieve that, we call it as sorrow. And when we achieve it, we call it as sukham or happiness. So the Nitya Sukha is the nature without any Vishesha, Nirvishesha. That is what is called the Paramalinga or Paramananda Linga. When the Nirvishesha is there, it is not only in the deep sleep, that is present even in the waking and the dream. In the world of all the experiences, that is present as Nirvishesha. The Vishesha is due to the Nama Rupa and the desires of Nama Rupa gives us happiness or sorrow. So we have to understand that Nitya Paramananda Linga is present everywhere, every object, every experience. That experience, when it is getting a Vishesha or a qualifier with the name and form and the desires, etc., it can take the shape of objects of happiness and objects of sorrow. All those are due to the Vishesha, not from the Nirvishesha Rupa. That is what is called Paramalinga and Nitya Rupa Sukha.
Correct, Vadaji. That means Nirvikalpa, means that Nirvikalpa Gnana also, where all the either Anandamaya, Vijnanamaya, all that is simultaneously there. Just that the Vikalpa is gone. That's about it. But that Vijnanamaya, in Nitya Sukha, I'm just trying to clarify this a little more. Nitya Sukha is just Anandamaya alone, where no thought process, just that Vijnanamaya subsided completely. What could be the closest word which we can use to describe where Vijnanamaya subsided? And is that a Nitya Sukha? Is that the way to put it?
Yes.
There is no, okay.
That where the Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya and the Manomaya is subsiding, we move into a state called Nitya Sukha, which is we call it as Sushupti, but it is not Sushupti, it is our true nature. The Sushupti is a name, or the deep sleep is a name given by the waker for filling up the gap of waking and dream hours. There is a gap between the waking, dream, and coming back to waking or dream. There is an absence of experiences, total experiences, Nitya Sukha. That is the place where it is eternal happiness. And that happiness is our Surupa, our nature, which the Chandogya Upanishad says that. having become one with the existence, we are not able to know we are knowing existence or we are experiencing existence, because there is no mind or vijnanamaya, mind or the intellect there operational for us to know. But the waker calls that as a sleep, deep sleep, as of the individual. But there is no individuality of also for the individuality of the individual who is in deep sleep. He doesn't know whether he's a man or a woman, where, time, space. There is no knowledge at all of the world. He is in pure awareness without any attribution. That is what is called eternal happiness. That Niratishaya Sukha or Nitya Sukha. Niratishaya Sukha means a happiness which doesn't have variation. All the variation of happiness, the happiness and sorrow, etc., is happening only in dream and waking. In deep sleep, it is not happening because there is no mind to give desire, therefore no desire. There is no objects with names and forms. So there is no objects also giving experiences. The absence of any descriptive nature of these things in the deep sleep is the reason why we are in our pristine nature. And that is the Nitya Sukha, which cannot be understood by the waker. So the waker calls it as a deep sleep. But this nature of our true nature of deep sleep is the reason and present in the waking, where we are experiencing every experience in the form of existence. That existence has remained unchanged even when it was in deep sleep, even when it is in waking, even when it is in dream. So in the total world where I am there, you are there, the whole world is there, existence is the substratum on which everything is existing. That existence is called the consciousness or the infinity or the bliss in different terms, because when you address it from different aspects, we can call it as eternity or infinity or bliss. Any name which we can call, it is one and the same. We call it as existence. Sat. Sat, Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam. Existence, consciousness, and infinity or bliss is what is the nature of Brahman or Atman or the self. And that is the one which is knowing which you lose your limitation to your boundary of your individuality. You are no more limited to the limited individual, which is limited by the mind and the intellect because of the antakarana. Here you are seeing the same existence in every object, every microbes, every atom, every minute particle onwards. Everything is existing. That existence is your nature, and your nature can never be unseen or cannot be out of your vision or out of your knowledge at any point of time. Even when you are in deep sleep, you are in that existence, but there is no verbalization possible. That's why yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasasaha, where the words fail to explain that and where the mind failed to comprehend it. That is what is the nature there, because the words and the mind is inoperable in that state.
Mandoji, thank you so much. That now the importance of Vijnanamaya to apprehend existence and dissolving itself, Paramashanti. Many words to say this, but thank you. This is I don't know any other way to arrive at this other than this the one you took us through. This is profound. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you, Venkat. Thank you, Srini. Welcome. Namaste.
Namaste, Binduji. I think beautiful session. I think last 4 or 5 sessions are just awesome. I'm getting a feeling that sometimes I'm being put in hot water, then taking out and putting in. It's like a shock therapy only, because once the Bhashya is saying the Brahman is transcendental, again it says it is immanent because all objects are coming out of this. I think it's just tabla kind of, or a mridangam kind of thing, beating from both sides. But yeah, I think very deep, and I think it really, it's beautiful. I think this part of the Bhashya, I found that many, like for example, two months ago, I was reading 18th chapter of Gita. I think I was stuck on around 42 because similar. I asked you that question also about appearance. That saying that world is an appearance is also only partially true. That kind of area when it comes. I think here also I found many answers to the regularly asked questions, and especially this point, the Satyam point is beautiful. And the only thing is I'm constantly trying to draw a line between what part of this is jnana and what part of this is upasana kanda, because whenever it says things like observer is observed or everything is, I'm like still trying to understand. Maybe in the next class some things will get clarified, but there seems to be a very thin line where there is an anuvada from our experience and the jnana, especially I like the transcendental part where Brahman is picturized as an absolute transcendental entity, which is omnipresent. But when the actual immanent part where the objects are also the lingas for Brahman, I think, that's very, I'm trying to understand, but thanks. I think your explanation is really helpful and clarifying a lot of these areas.
Yeah, see, when we say the snake is an appearance of rope, other than rope, it was rope before, it is rope when you are seeing it as snake, and it is rope when you know it as rope. All the three times, the truth was rope. Rope had never become a snake at any point of time. Same way, that transcendental and eminent Brahman is present, whether you are calling it as transcendental or in the world as perceivable or acceptable. But what happens is our over-dependence on the Vishesha or the qualifier by names and forms in the world, we are not giving any importance to the existential aspect of objects and the experiential aspect of the object. When we say that a tree is there, or an animal is there, or a human being is there, we are busy with the description of these names and forms. But the names and forms depend upon what? Because of the existence. The existence has not gone through any change. The object is now being given a name, and because it has a form, that form is dependent upon the existence. The pot is a name and a form for the mud. The ornaments is a name and form for the gold. The wave is the name and form for the water itself, the ocean which has become it. So the same way, that Atman or Brahman, which is transcendental in nature, when the descriptions are not there, when the moment the description is being given, which is the name and form, we call it as an object. It is not an object. It is Brahman only or Atma only. But we call it as an object because the name and form is more important to us than the experience or the existence of that. With the moment you see that existence is everywhere, experience is unabated in all those things, but the moment you bring in the name and form, which is actually not independently present, it is dependently present on the existence, we are forgetting about the pervasiveness of experience and pervasiveness of existence, and we compartmentalize and call it as objects. That aspect of the compartmentalization and objectification is similar to the snake being superimposed on the rope. Here the names and forms are being superimposed on the same Brahman or Atman or existence or experience. The experience is required, the existence is required for the names and forms. You take out the names and form, separate from the existence and the experience, Can there a name and form substance or exist separately, or can there be anything called a name and form if there is no existence for it? That is why it is called appearance. To apprehend that, you have to use your intelligence. That is why the the sheath of the intelligence or the Vijnanamaya Kosha is so important, because in the Manomaya, in the mind, we are more in the emotional feeling and thoughts learning. But only when you analyze it through logically and use the support of Anandamaya for knowing that experience of the deep sleep is present in every moment of our waking also. It is that reality of the deep sleep, not as deep sleep, because that is the story of the waker. The deep sleep is our true nature. Don't call it as deep sleep. We are present when we are in deep sleep. That we is the one in which the names and forms and the world is being projected. When we project the world as an experience of the waker, we become an object in the waking, as a waker in the waking. That is also what is we call, that is, who is that waker in the waking? The same one who was in the deep sleep as the deep sleeper. That means in my reality, in my pure existence, I was calling myself as I am, without the ego. My pure intelligence is the nirvishesha, that is transcendental and without any attribution. But the moment I evolve myself into the story of the waker, I become the waker of the waking, and the world is become my objects for experience. So there, the dichotomy of the subject-object and the link between them depends upon the my own nature, which is the experience, not of the experience as object or the subject, but experience as a pure experience. That is why it is called an appearance. The appearance is not real. The experience and existence is real.
Also, Vindaji, about existence, I think there is this thing I keep thinking of. Like, of course, it is taken from that concept in Gita, which says apara prakriti and para prakriti kind of thing, right? So, for example, existence of a pot, for example, is prone to both exist. A pot is prone to both existence and non-existence, or even for that matter, mud or any of the viseshas, right, are prone to exist. But I think when we actually, in the true sense of the meaning, the existence means the existence of the jnana or the chit element, right? Consciousness. Is it right to, because there is a huge difference. So I would think the existence of a pot or any visesha is probably a apara kind of existence, and the existence of Brahman itself is the true existence. Is this like kind of valid or something like that?
No, it is not valid. It is due to the vritti. The knowing there, what you call the pot is due to the vritti or the vishesha, or the qualifier with which we qualify the pot. And that qualifying is what you think you are knowing. You are actually not knowing the qualifying thing. The qualifying is the name and form. The name and form is dependent upon the existence. The existence has no qualifying. Existence is an experience. That experience, when it has the qualifying nature of the pot, then our experience becomes a thought with the name and form that you are now confusing as a jnana or the chit or the knowing. No, the knowing has got two aspects. One is the pure knowledge aspect and the descriptive aspect, which is the pot in the form of name and form. The name and form is not known. It is known through the dependency of the pure knowledge which is present in the object, in the name, in that form. Everywhere it is present. The name is, the form is, the name and form put together, the pot is. Everywhere that isness, which is nothing but pure consciousness or pure awareness or pure knowledge. When we are not able to, intellectually or ideally separate it out like the onion. The onion is not there when you are removing each of the peel. So when everything is doing, you are coming to ease. Even when the pot is not there, the notness or the absence of the pot is an easiness. That is also an experience of the absence of a prior experience. That becomes the abhava or the absence. And that absence is dependent upon the presence of an existential object which was present earlier. So when you say the pot is not there or the mud is not there, when the mud has become the pot is now there, the mud is absent. No, the mud's absence is not seen as what is the absence of the mud. The name and form of the lump of the clay is absent. But the name and form's dependence on the clay is depending on giving the dependence for the object called the pot, which is again depend upon the same clay. So the easiness of the lump of clay is now transferred into the easiness of the pot. And when the pot is absent, either you call that powder of the pot is there or the broken pieces is there, or you will say the absence of the pot is there. So there also what happens, the dependency of the easiness of the pot or the absence of the pot. Everywhere the dependency of the existence, and existence itself is the experience. There is no separate two things. That is why Sat and Chit are the same. Or Sat and Jnana, Satyam and Jnanam is the same, which we say.
So the usage of the words Advisesha and Chitvishesha. So are they both valid? Or Sat is always Nirvisesha, and because you said the pot knowledge is a knowing of a name and form, right? So that means the impurity is happening in. Should we call it a Chidvisesha, or like if I'm knowing a pot as a knowledge, as a name and form, now that should be called Satvisesha or Chitvisesha?
If you are using the name and form for the pot and explaining it, then it becomes Chitvishesha. Because Chit and Sat is not different, but you want to use it as a knowing of the pot, then you are calling the knowing of the pot as the description of the experience. But the knowing also is a easiness. I am knowing the existence of the pot. So the existence of the pot becomes the knowing of the pot. Otherwise, a thing which is non-existent, you can not say that, will you ever know the existence of a barren woman's son? No. You can never experience that because there is no easiness for it. So, a absence is as an idea also as shunyata or nihilism or what you call the total absence of everything. What was the world before its creation, before the Big Bang? It is not zero or shunyata. Existence, when it started expressing, it became the world. We can this experience only from our own experience of deep sleep and the world coming out. The world is there when you will say the third party is saying the world is there. That is for him. His world is there. What is about your world? Your own experiential world. It is experience. You are even creating the third party when you wake up. So everything, including you as the waker who is now discussing with the third party for the existence of the world, is all the creation from that existential nature of your own true nature which was present in the absence of waking and dream. I don't want to call it as a deep sleep because deep sleep is the story of the waker. You who existed, your existence from where the world is seen coming as experience. But it is not you who was there in the experience. It is you in your pure Atma Swarupa or your pure nature of the infinite. You were in infinity. You were infinite in nature. Otherwise, the infinite nature of the world cannot come out from something which is not infinite. the infinite world of the waker or the dream, how can infinite nature of objects come out from a non-infinite thing? No. You were infinite at that time. Infinity was your nature. You are omnipotent. You are omniscient. That is what is bringing out the waker and the dreamer of the whole world of waking and dream.
Thank you, Bindoji. One last question. So just to complete this, so Sat is always Nirvisesha, or does the word Satvisesha makes any sense? What do you think? That's the only last question. Thank you.
It is Sat, everything is Satvishesha. Because Satvishesha Vyatirekena Kinchit Nasti. Without Satvishesha, nothing can exist. That's what I said, the barren woman's son. He said Asatvishesha. Everything else is Satvishesha.
So we can synonymously use the words Chitvisesha and Satvishesha, or is there?
Yeah, you can use it on what aspect you are going to imply by that. Existential aspect or the knowing aspect or the experiential aspect. Based on that, you can say Satvishesha or Chitvishesha.
Thank you. Thank you, Bindoji. Thank you for the explanation. Yeah.
Thank you, Srini. Namaste, Ganesh.
Namaste, Bindoji. Today I can only say thank you to you.
Thank you.
And the questions are getting faded slowly. And today I have thought that existence precedes essence. That's what we had read in a philosophy called existentialism in the Western philosophy. It doesn't precede, I believe. It is, as you said, the easiness of everything has to be experienced. And one day I remember what you said one day, shut up and contemplate. And I think the easiness could only be experienced, and one should become Namavashesha, including his own individuality as such in the existence. And it is only purely experiential, I believe.
You don't have to be Namavashesha without the name and form. If you can understand this existence as your true nature and see the same existence in everything, including every experience of the waker, every experience of the dream, all those things are nothing but you remained there as existence, and you are the one who is creating the existence of everything. So everything is you. You, not the individual you. You, the existence in pure form, is the reason why everything is existing. So that is why Sarvam Kaluidam Brahma, or everything is Brahman. That Sarvatma Bhava, or Sarvam is Atma, means Sarvam is existence. That is what is saying that. So don't take a negative sense at all for anything. You are everything. You are everything because you are the one from where everything is being experienced. The experience of the pot, experience of the rope, experience of the sky, experience of the moon, everything is depending upon your existence. Because you are lending the existence to everything. That existence has to be seen or felt in the bosom of your heart. That is why prakalpate, as guhayam prakalpate, in the heart, when you are able to see the oneness, yomam pasyati sarvatra sarvancha mayi pasyati, when the statement of Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, one who sees me in everything and everything in me, he is a jnani. He is the one who has realized. So don't take a negative thing. It is all encompassing. You are. That is why Brahmavita apnodi param statement will become valid. Otherwise, the statement of the Taittareeya Upanishad beginning, the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman, or is encompassing everything in the world. or is all encompassing, that statement becomes blasphemous, and it will not cannot be accepted as a statement by the Upanishad. We are experiencing that everything. We are everything. Don't think that way for even for a minute that is separate from you.
Yeah.
Only a person who sees himself in everything, he can be a lover of everything. He will be at peace because he has no enemies. And when he is at peace, he radiates, his peace which is radiating out of him becomes a beacon for everyone to come to him, and he becomes a harbinger of peace in the world. That is why in India we call such people jnanis, one who has realized, as Mahatmas, because they are the Mahatma. He is the supreme Atma himself. That Mahatma word means he identifying himself with everyone. He has no enemy. He has no difference between anything. Brahmani Shubhija Swapake Pandita Samadarshina, that word statement of Bhagavad Gita, what does it say? He sees the same stuff in whether he is a upper caste or a Brahmin or a one who eats a dog or one who is the downtrodden or one who is animate, one who is inanimate. He sees himself in everything. He is called the Pandita, or he is the one Mahatma. So once we realize this in our own bosom, we become a jnani, we become a Mahatma. Not for our purpose, we are Mahatma even now. But when we don't know that our nature, what is our true nature, then we start thinking that we are limited the individual by the body, mind and the complex. I have the difference, everything else is different from me. That attitude comes in.
Yeah. Thank you, Vindoji. Today, I feel I have come very close to the statement of this Upanishad, Satyajnanam Anantam Brahma, is almost perceivable with the words that you are taking us through. And still one more is there you have told. Very eager to listen to that also. Thank you, Vindoji.
Thank you, Ganesh.
I also resonate with Ganeshji. I had so many times during this last few that shut up kind of like somebody telling shut up with all those nonsense explanations or just shut up and contemplate the way Ganeshji said. I also had that similar feeling, Ganeshji. I totally, and
No,
also I agree that
actually Vindoji told in one of the classes. I still remember.
even Shankara Bhashya seemed like that only.
Yeah,
That hot
finally it
and
has to
cold
be.
treatment felt like you know nothing kind of thing. But I do understand. It's both are in different realms. I think when we are trying to explain, like Vindoji said, doing with names and forms, then that shut up kind of sound comes. And yeah, otherwise, like Vindoji explained, I think if everything we are able to see as existence or something, then I think there is no bad quality to it. But I did get that feeling that Asha listening to it, like just shut up with your explanations. Like he's asking us to not, almost it's as if we are not capable to dissect the way, like Bindaji said last class, right? I think the amount of clarity of thought and the build-up of logic which Shankara has done in this Bhashya is, I don't think it is possible for like us as
Yeah.
individuals. I think it's just we have to follow him, and yeah, that's the feeling we get.
I feel, Bindoji, all these logical establishment of the truth is to guide the contemplator not to get astray of the existence by his own logicizing things and other things. A perfect logic to again and again getting focused towards that Satyajnanam Anantam Brahma. And because the poor minds like ours will always get either distracted or deviated from the focus. And all these logics have been put forth or established to, of course, the bottom line is to contemplate, and during the course of contemplation, not to get distracted and deviated. This logic has been established, I believe. Otherwise, maximum part of the process is to contemplate, I feel, with the support of this logic.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm yeah.
in fact,
Go
I'm
ahead.
getting more and more like, even I'm unable to formulate questions also. Just looking at the clarity with which the questions are being formulated in the Bhashya. I'm like, I don't feel capable to ask a proper question. I want to ask some question, but by the time the question comes out of my mouth, I think it's all garbled, and yeah, it's. I think I can really feel I'm unable to formulate the proper question also. But listening to Bhash, it's like anyway the questions are being answered in the next class. So that is the feeling I'm getting in the last few classes, and yeah, I think I'm even I thought waiting is better than trying to formulate the questions, kind of.
The most beautiful aspect is that all the questions have been put forth in the beginning by the Vedanti himself. All possible questions that the others would put, and we would be just contemplating on both the sides. So we should take resort to contemplation. That's all. Thank you, Binduji.
Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you, Srini. I can see
Yes.
Visam is there in the audience.
Yes.
Rarely see him here. Okay, I think Prakash, we can close.
Yes, Bindu.
Nobody else has any. We have closed the chat. No?
I closed the chat. It's already past 10:30. I think it's time for you
Yep.
to get some rest. Thank you very much, Bindoji, for guiding us and for the wonderful questions that came from Venkatji, Srinivasji, and Ganeshji. The discussions always are also equally enlightening because we get to extract more of that clarity from the way you interpret it. So again, thank you, Bindoji. And
Binduji,
thanks
there
everyone
is
for coming.
one more
So go ahead,
word I
Ganesh.
wanted. Sorry, Prakash. One more word I wanted to know when Venkatji mentioned that Nitya Sukha, and why is it called also Niravadhi Sukha? Because the
Avadhi means end. Niravati means no ending.
Okay.
Unending.
That comes for the Ananta part. Ananta
Right.
Brahma part. Okay. Thank you, Binduji.
Thank you, Ganeshji. So just a closing statement. The next session is a Q&A on Sunday at same time, starting at 8:30 IST. And the following Taittareeya session, 29th session, is on Wednesday at the same time at 8:30 IST. And all the replays and recordings are available in Clubhouse and also on Advaita Retold channel. I pasted them in the chat. So if you're listening to the replay on Clubhouse, you can go back to those links and use that as a guide. And obviously, the most important aspect of this is because there is a huge shift in how we are reframing this in language and understanding and the deep upasana or the meditation of that. It is highly recommended that you do the Sravana Manana to really get the benefit. Otherwise, it becomes an intellectual exercise. So that's Binduji always reminds us. So I'm just putting that reminder forward again because somebody listening to the replay will be activating that process of going back and doing the Sravana Manana. I think it is mostly a beautiful reframing of the structure of the language itself through which the mind can come. That's how I'm sensing. And because I don't have any more questions, I'm just listening. Every time a question comes, I'm listening to how Binduji is going to unpack this. So thank you, Binduji. Over to you. We'll close the session.
Thank you, Prakash, for moderating. Thank you, Venkat, Srini, and Ganesh for your questions, and all your audience. Thank you all for listening to me. Please go through the replay, and if you have any questions, this Sunday we will have the Q&A, and there you can clarify these doubts, or the next session we will be continuing. As I told in the beginning of the thing, I am expecting Taittareeya to take about 15 to 20 more classes to complete the whole thing. Let me see how it will go. Because this is one Upanishad which if you study it so thoroughly, other Upanishads when you review through or revisit them will become very crystal clear, and you can feel that your heart is talking to you from the innermost place, and the real words of the Upanishad will come true to you. God bless. Thank you all. Hari Om. See you on Sunday. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Bindoji. Hari Om.
Thank you, Bindoji.
Hari Om.